Welcome to News West 9's West Texas View with Johnny Lou Avery.
Welcome to the West Texas View. I'm Johnny Lou Avery, and it's a real pleasure for me to have today as our special guest Dr. Ted L. Mitchell, who is the new president of the Texas Tech University's Health Science Center. And this has been such an exploding number of facilities and programs that's just changed the face of the medical scene in West Texas. And so to have our new president here is a real pleasure. Dr. Mitchell, thank you so much for coming to the Permian Basin. I know you've been here several times since you've taken over the reins, but to start with, I want people to get to know you a little bit. So tell us a little bit about your credentials, your family, your career, and so on.
Well, first of all, thanks for having me. It's been wonderful getting down here, and I'm an East Texas boy. I'm from Longview. And so when I first came this direction, I had friends of mine saying, oh my gosh, you're going out to West Texas, it's just flat, flat, flat. I had somebody said that in West Texas, if your dog gets away from you, you can watch him run away for 3 days. So, but it's not been like that. It's actually been, it's a gorgeous area. The weather's been phenomenal. We were recently at an outdoor event, and it was, during the day it was in the 90s, but just as soon as the sun dropped down, the weather, the temperature dropped down. It was absolutely beautiful. So it's been a wonderful, wonderful move for me and my family. But I'm from East Texas, grew up in Longview, and went to college at Stephen F. Austin, which is in Nacogdoches. My medical training was all at the University of Texas Medical Branch down in Galveston. And I met my wife in medical school. My wife's also a physician, and she was 1 year behind me, and so I stayed at UTMB for my training, for my internal medicine training. Stayed there for all of my training, and stayed an additional year as chief resident. During that time, I actually was intrigued with preventive medicine and exercise science. And one of my professors at UTMB actually got me in touch with a gentleman named Kenneth Cooper. And Kenneth Cooper's called the father of aerobics.
Absolutely.
And his center up there does a lot of educational work and research on the benefits of physical activity on health. And so as a junior resident, I wound up doing a rotation up in Dallas at the Cooper Institute, and just fell in love with the concept of prevention through behavior. And as it turned out, they offered me a position. So as I finished my chief year, I joined the Cooper Institute, and I was there for almost 20 years. And during that time, I first worked as a medical director, and then later as vice president of the system, and eventually as the president and the CEO. And it was during that time that I fell in love with the concept of using physical activity and lifestyle modification as a way to improve people's health. And I will tell you that concept really dovetails in to what the folks in Texas in general, West Texas in particular, the Permian Basin, what they need to understand as far as things they can do to improve their own health.
Take charge of
You
their
better
own
believe
health.
it. At the end of the day, it's not the government's job to keep you healthy. It's not even your doctor's job to keep you healthy. It's your job to keep yourself healthy. And so the professional lessons that I learned there were phenomenal. During my time at the Cooper Institute, we've got a very strong research division and a very strong educational division. And I come from a family where my dad was a physician and my mother was a teacher. So I've always had a very strong interest in the educational aspect of medical training. And I had actually participated in the search committee for Texas Tech for their previous president. And so during that time, I had gotten to know some of the search committee members and some of the Board of Regents members. And so more recently, I was then contacted again by some of the search committee folks saying, hey, listen, we'd like for you to be a candidate this time, rather than being on our search committee. So one thing led to the next, and I wound up in West Texas.
And so, what a wonderful bonus it is to get all of this Cooper vision to implant it here, and particularly at a time when our state and nation is so facing all of these problems with diabetes that's brought on by your lifestyle. And
well, that's it. One of the things that has really changed, if you looked at the things that killed us 100 years ago, it was basically the environment we lived in. People died from pneumonia, influenza, tuberculosis, infectious diarrhea, things like that. And then when Alexander Fleming discovered penicillin in 1928, it changed everything. For the first time, you could start treating illnesses in a way that prior to that time we could not. And so two things happened. Number one, people started living much longer. Number two, they started dying from other illnesses. So now when you look at what's killing us, it's heart disease, it's cancer, it's stroke, and then when you look at the root causes of those illnesses, a large part of those things are things related to physical inactivity, cigarette smoking, intemperate use of alcohol, dietary programs that are high in saturated fat and salt, et cetera, et cetera. So it's one of those things, we have seen the enemy, and the enemy is me. And so when it comes to successful aging, it really is important for folks to understand that it doesn't take a lot, number one, and number two, it's incumbent upon each of us to make sure we take care of ourselves a bit. And there's something from a medical economic standpoint that's very important in all of this as well. You'd mentioned the changes in health care and the Health Care Reform Act that was recently passed. There's a thing called the geriatric curve. And it's where about the last 15 years of life, your functional capacity just drifts away from you. During that same period of time, your medical expenditures do exactly the opposite. If you can keep people physically active, if you can keep them off cigarettes, if you can do just a few simple things, what they tend to do is they tend to square off that geriatric curve. So they live a long, healthy life, and when the good Lord calls them home, they step off the proverbial cliff. From a medical economic standpoint, that makes sense.
That's right. And our country just does not have the resources to keep holding someone's hand while they're in the hospital over and over again, or these astronomical medical bills.
That's exactly right. And one of the things that we found is that there's simply no way for the country to afford the health care that people would like to have everywhere all the time. And it's because as our population ages, as the boomer generation ages, the number of folks requiring rather intensive, expensive care is going up, 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 up. So when it comes to improving the nation's health economically, it's important for each of us individually to take care of our own health.
Yeah. Well, I'm 72 years old, and I live in thank you. And I live in a retirement village.
Sure.
And one of the things I've learned in life at this stage is that there are the haves and the have-nots, not just in money, but in health.
Sure.
And the money is really not as important as when you reach 72 to look around and say, thank goodness that I've got the health.
Sure, and a lot of folks will say that when it comes to health, when you look at the haves and have-nots, very often is related to the dids and the did-nots.
That's right. The
people that were taking care of themselves along the way typically are the ones that later on tend to have good health.
But one of the things that I see as an educator is that no one taught young children now how to eat, and they have access to all of this fat food. They saw their mom and dad eating fast food and getting fatter and fatter, and so it's just one of those things that we've got to break the cycle. And I have been familiar with the Cooper Institute, and I am very impressed also with that. And I'm so glad that you got that background and that knowledge to bring it in. And we're going to have to take a break in just a minute. When we come back, I want us to get back to your family now that you've given us your credentials, because you've got an interesting family, and I want people to know about that too. We're going to take a break and come back, and over the next 2 Sundays you're going to be hearing from Dr. Mitchell, and then we're going to have a wonderful program about the Laura Bush Institute for Women's Health, and many of you have already been to the grand opening of that facility, but you need to know a little bit more in depth. So you're going to be meeting Dr. Chupp, who is going to give us that information. But for the time being, we'll get back with Dr. Mitchell in just a minute. Join us then.
Stay tuned. West Texas View will be right back.